Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome to the second Bloomburrow Arena Open. The first one took place only a couple weeks ago, but they had to cram them together a little bit this time around because the release of Duskborn is just around the corner. So this will be the final Bloomburrow Arena Open and the final competitive Bloomburrow Limited Event in general, so hopefully we can end the format with a bang rather than a whimper. They have added one of the sweetest cosmetic rewards for this Arena Open as the last Bloomburrow event. It's going to be the Jace the Mind Sculptor avatar with the Fox Jace, so really great entry reward here no matter what happens, but we're going to do our best to give the format the ending it deserves, as I just said. So without further ado, let's just bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. Alright, so I'm definitely feeling blue with these rares. We have Dowerport Mage, Azure Beastbinder, Vren the Relentless, Kitsa, Otterball Otter, and Dreamdew Entrancer. All of those are touching blue at the very least, so there's certainly a lot of overlap in that color. If we go blue-black in particular, we get to play 5 of our rares. With a splash, we get to play 6 of them, splashing green for Entrancer, or white for Convocation, or red for Barterer, so somewhat likely to end up in blue here if we have the support for it, and that is the biggest thing that our rares are going to tell us here. Most of the time, you're really going to need the support in your commons and uncommons to really go for it, so I don't like to spend too much time on the rares, but definitely do like keeping that in the back of my head here, that blue is our most explosive color for sure. So let's check out the commons and uncommons here, starting with the colorless and multicolored, and this is a strange sealed pool with 1 colorless card, 3 tree mascot. At least it is a mana fixing card. It's a very filler piece of mana fixing. I would try to almost never run in draft, but in sealed, if you don't have enough fixing in your pool and you really need to splash, it can help you out. And we do have 2 copies of Uncharted Haven, so that is 3 pieces of fixing we can put into any deck. That's certainly nice. Then I like to take a peek at the multicolored cards, because some of the multicolored uncommons can be almost as strong as rares and be another reason to put you in a specific color pair. So we have Wandertail Mentor here, solid card for green-red, but not a huge push in that direction. And same with our Plume-Creed Mentor in blue-white, so that is it. For the strict multicolored cards, the hybrid cards kind of classify as monocolored stuff as well. If we're playing a white deck or a blue deck, we can play Seed Pod Squire really easily. If we're playing a white or a black deck, we can play Moonrise Cleric, so don't tend to look at those too heavily at this point. So that's it. Not a ton going on, outside of the rares, of course, in our multicolored and colorless. So let's just take a peek at all of our colors and see what looks the strongest. Again, ideally, we've got a lot of support in blue. That's where we've got a lot of rares. But starting off in white here, we certainly have a high quantity of white spells here. And honestly, I don't think any of them are unplayable. Some of them are definitely deck dependent, like the Builder's Talent here, where you need a lot of non-creature, non-land permanents. So a lot of cards that produce food tokens will work well with this. Specifically, Carrot Cake is one of the best combos. Unfortunately, we didn't open any Carrot Cakes. That's a non-creature permanent you can play and then sacrifice, so it ends up in your graveyard. Then you can reanimate it with level 3. So Builder's Talent, probably not looking the greatest for the sealed pool, at least in terms of what it synergizes with out of the white. But then there's also like Mabel's Metal and Rabbit Response, both being cards we only want if we're very aggressive and have a very high creature count. But these look more close to being playables for the way that our white looks than the Builder's Talent, at least. I mean, we have 2 1-mana creatures. They're going to try to be attacking as 1-mana 3/2s, so we're probably going for a somewhat aggressive build if we do play the white. So pretty excited about this as a color. There's a lot of cards here. There's decent removal between Banishing Light and Sonar Strike. There's even removal on a stick with the Driftgloom Coyote at the top of the curve. And there's a decent aggressive curve. 2 1-drops, 3 2-drops, a 3 and a 5. So a lot going for our white here, even if it doesn't have any bomb power. No rares at all. Next up is our blue, which has a very solid mana curve, at least. Lots of 2-drops here. And those 2-drops include the Beastbinder, which is good at getting some attacks in no matter what, because even if they have a creature that can block the Beastbinder, you can turn it into a 2/2 with no ability still end of turn so that it no longer can. So it's a nice little sneaky card in that way. We've also got the Kitsa Otterball Elite. That is a good, not really card advantage engine because you have to discard a card every time you draw a card off this, but it's a good card selection engine where you keep digging for what you need and discarding what you don't. Very good in positions of Mana Flood and Mana Screw. Super happy with that. Tower Port Mage is probably the weakest of our mono blue rares because it's by far the slowest. I do think that Sealed tends to be slow enough, though, that you can play around with these kind of abilities if you have good enter the battlefield effects to bounce with the Tower Port Mage. Unfortunately, it looks like we don't have a lot out of our blue. I suppose if we're super late in the game and we have Threshold, we could like flicker a Thought Sucker, and then we could actually activate its ability again, because it would not count as having had used that ability at one point anymore, since it's sort of a fresh instance of the Thought Sucker. But I mean, at that point, like, it's so late in the game, that's not the most relevant thing. Yeah, the Dower Port Mage doesn't look that exciting here. But if we're in positions to hold our mana up, that ability can also play around removal spells from our opponent. Removal gets really, really bad when you can just bounce your thing back and draw a card when you do it. So they kind of have to kill the Port Mage before anything else if you have the open mana. So it's an interesting card for sure. So our interaction's not great here. One counterspell and one runaway together. But there's a lot of 2-drop creatures. There's certainly some filler here. I'm not a big fan of these 3-mana creatures. Certainly not a big fan of Bellowing Crier or the Thought Shuckers. But again, we get some good rares out of blue. Weirdly, though, I'm slightly more excited about white than our blue, despite our rares. For black now, we have a lot of cards again. We have Fell and Savor and Nocturnal Hunger and Consumed by Greed. And if that wasn't enough, if these 4 efficient removal spells aren't enough for our tastes, we also have the expensive Early Winters. If we just really need more removal, I actually like this black a lot. It's got a lot of great interaction. It has a good curve, multiple 2-drops, multiple 1-drops to choose from, and some 3-drops. We have one of the best uncommons out of black in this format, the Thoughtstalker Warlock. That's always a 2-for-1, but sometimes you even get to Thought Seize your opponent and take their best card from their hand. We've got a lot going for our black, and of course we have one of our rares in this color with the Iridescent Vine Lasher at 3 mana with that Offspring ability, and that is a pretty dang good one. So I'm really liking our black, and I'm quite liking our white as well. The strongest rare in our sealed pool by far is our Vren. So even though I have plenty of other blue rares, I don't think any of them are nearly as strong as the Vren here. And if we go like black-white, splash the blue, that's going to let us play around with Lunar Convocation if we have the synergy to go with it, as well as play our 2 best colors that we've seen so far. And again, with just a single blue card that only requires a single blue mana, the double Uncharted Haven and the 3-tree Mascot are probably enough to just run a single island in the deck for those occasions where we can draw into the Vren. So pretty excited about that potential deck as the place to be here, but we've got 2 more colors to look through. Let's not completely lock in on that plan. For red, this is the lowest quantity of cards we've seen so far, but they're all decent. I don't think any of these are unplayable, although of course Might of the Meeks, Raccoon Ralliers are certainly somewhat filler. We do have 3 cheap removal spells, got a pretty good rare with the Byway Barterer. But again, there's a pretty low quantity of stuff here, and there's still some filler to go with that. The Double Rallier, the Might of Makes, even Pathmaker's sort of filler. So yeah, just because of the lower amount of cards here, even though some of them are pretty good, I think it's certainly less exciting than our black and our white by a good margin. And last but not least, we've got green here, which once again has a lot of cards. I guess this is the upside of not opening up too many colorless and multicolored cards. We've got a lot in each color. Now, green looks to have the most fillery stuff, like Wear Down. You just cannot main deck this thing. Heaped Harvest is only going to be good if we're going to be doing a lot of splashing. But we might. Yeah, Sticky Tongue Sentinels. I mean, with Hunter's Talent, 2 copies of Sticky Tongue Sentinels is actually kind of legit. This is interesting. Yeah, our green is actually pretty good. It's about the green and white level of power here. Or sorry, the black and white levels of power here. So, if we went green, black, splashing blue, that would give us access to the most rares and the strongest rares. The green-blue rare is quite good too. Dream, Do, and Transfer. 4 mana for a 3/4 stun one of your opponent's creatures for 3 turns. Or you can stun your own creature to draw a couple cards and then ideally just pick it up anyway with something else soon. So we get the most bomb power going green, black, splash blue, but then we're splashing for Entranceur and Vren. But green gives us a little more fixing now. Instead of just 3-Tree Mascot and Double Haven, we're also getting to use 3-Tree Root Weaver and Heaped Harvest, and then that splash is still reasonable off of a single island, even though it would be for 2 spells. I kind of like that idea. Green does give us the highest card quality, both by splashing in a Dream, Do, and Transfer, but also by getting some pretty great uncommons, like specifically Hunter's Talent being one of the best uncommons in the whole set, probably my favorite one. It's a removal spell in the early game that takes over any late game, breaking through board stalls with Trample and drawing you cards in the long run. That card is absolutely absurd, but we also have pretty solid filler commons here, like Root Weaver, Bushy Bodyguard, Baker's Bane Duo. There's like a good solid core to the deck, and a couple good synergies like the Sentinels with the Hunter's Talent. The Cash Grab is also excellent with Hunter's Talent. That means we're going to have 1 removal spell in our deck that we can actually grab as a permanent off of Cash Grab. And the other thing that's really nice about Cash Grab and Sealed is that because your decks are going to be less synergistic, every game where you manage to play a bomb is going to feel that much more important, and Cash Grab digs for any bombs because they're pretty much all permanent spells like, of course, Vren and Dream, Do, and Transfer. So if we play our 1 Cash Grab, we're just that much more likely to play our bombs more frequently. But I would even classify Hunter's Talent as a pseudo bomb here, and we'd play that more consistently with Cash Grab in the deck too. So yeah, I'm pretty into this idea of the green, black, splash blue, although I don't think there are any mono blue cards I'm that interested in splashing, as the strongest blue rares that we have are all 2-drops, and for your splash color, you really want cards that are still going to be relevant later in the game, and all of these blue cards are really the kind of cards that are at their best when you cast them on turn 2. That's not going to happen consistently off of only 1 or 2 islands and some random fixing. So I'm just going to play the multicolored blue rares here, because those, we don't need that source until turn 4, and these are still perfectly powerful, perfectly relevant plays. If we don't find our blue mana till turn 6 and onward, these are still really strong abilities. So we can wait for that splash color of mana on those cards. Definitely not splashing a Seed Pod Squire. Alright, so this is every green and black card, as well as the 2 splashes that we want. Let's also make sure to put in our mana fixing that's colorless, and double check our multicolored spells, our hybrid mana stuff, just make sure we're not missing anything here. I could play a Moonrise Cleric at double black and 1, but without a bunch of good synergies for gaining life consistently, I don't think that difficult mana cost is worth it for a deck that is splashing a 3rd color. Yeah, this card isn't strong enough to be particularly excited about playing it turn 4 or 5, and when we're a 2.5 color deck, we're gonna miss double black on turn 3 a decent amount of the time and have to wait till turn 4 or 5 to play that, and just not that good. So we'll leave it in the side here. We have plenty of other options in the deck. We get to cut 11 cards here. So one of the things that I am noticing right off the bat is we have a ton of removal in this deck. We have 2 Early Winters, Polywallop, Consumed by Greed, Nocturnal Hunger, Hunter's Talent, Savor, Fell, and 2 Longstock Brawls. So we certainly don't need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 removal spells. So we can definitely cut the most filler ones. So we'll start by just putting in the very good, very efficient removal, like obviously Fell, 2 mana, just destroy a creature. Saver is also great and hits some good synergies with this deck. It's going to make some of our best cards even better. In particular, Bone Cache Overseer is a card that really needs food tokens or foraging in your deck to get going, but with that support, turns into a great card draw engine, and Saver is some support for that. So, I mean, it's also just a pretty good raid up front. Nocturnal Hunger, 3 mana instant speed, destroy whatever you need. Slap that right into the deck. Consumed by Greed, fantastic card. It's always going to kill our opponent's largest creature, but sometimes we even get to gift our opponent a card to pick up a Vren that they've killed earlier, something like that. That can be very relevant. The Longstock Brawls are some of the first removal spells I'm looking at here that I might actually get to cut. Not because they're terrible, but just because we have so much better removal here. And like Hunter's Talent as well, the Mythic Uncommon for green, that's an auto-include. And then, yeah, then we have Early Winters and a Polywallop for other stuff that we could remove here. So one of the biggest flaws of these green removal spells, the Polywallop and the double Longstock Brawl, is they can be countered by our opponent killing our creature in response to that. Every other removal spell in our deck gets around that. I guess not the Hunter's Talent, but that makes up for it a lot with additional effects. So we could remove all these so we don't get got by that, but we could also just remove the Early Winters as the most expensive removal in the deck and keep that curve a little lower, be able to interact more consistently, especially in the early game. So that is another factor to take in here. I feel like I have so many non-creature spells here in general, especially when I really want to run this Cash Grab and Heaped Harvest, that I'm just going to cut all of them for now, and we'll see if we have room for a little more removal, but honestly, if we don't, we're probably fine on just 5 very efficient removal spells in this deck. So we'll do that for now. And I'm also cutting the Sinister Monolith because this is a card that is very, very filler without a bunch of good synergies, and we are not a bat life drain kind of deck, so we only have a few. So let's check the creature to non-creature count here. 21 creatures, 7 non-creatures. Your general aggressive draft deck is going to be at the 15 to 17 creature count here. So we are absolutely free to just cut 5 creatures and be a 16 creature deck and be perfectly happy. But we could also cut another 1 or 2 creatures if we want to put a couple of those removal spells back in. So if we have enough creatures that we think are pretty bad, we can go down to like a 14 creature, 13 creature sealed deck sometimes even is fine. So that's an option too. So first off, we are not that aggressive. I mean, we've got a decent aggressive curve, but just a 1 mana, 1/1 menace without dumping mana into it is not super exciting, not super relevant if you're not specifically trying to trigger cards that activate when you've dealt damage to your opponent. And we don't have any of those on turn 2. We do have the Thoughtstalker Warlock on turn 3, but at that point we have a ton of 2 mana creatures. So plenty of ways to try to poke our opponent by then. So I think Ravine Raider is one of the first cuts. The Assassins, another card that gets exponentially better with life gain synergies and life loss synergies. We do have 1 life loss synergy with the Thoughtstalker Warlock, but not a lot of life gain cards specifically. Like, I'm probably cutting the Starscape Cleric with only food tokens and some Assassins to go with it. So the inability to block is kind of a big deal if you're not a great dedicated life gain deck. Yeah, and then just keep these 2 mana creatures, maybe cut a 3-tree mascot, maybe hope Double Haven and Heaped Harvest is enough for the blue. Because 1 toughness is quite detrimental in this format. There's a couple cards you're going to get absolutely blown out by. For example, the red uncommon that deals 1 to any target and your opponent draws a card. You get 2 for 1 real hard by that when you play 3-tree mascot. But also just anything with Offspring. Like, they're playing that 3/2 rabbit that comes with a 1/1 and buffs 2 things, and then your mascot just sucks in combat because it trades into their little 1/1 Offspring token. But then there's also literally 1/1 fish tokens and 1/1 bunny tokens and stuff like that. So 1 toughness is a hard sell for a 2-drop if it doesn't have a super relevant ability, and 3-tree mascot's ability is only relevant when we've drawn one of these 2 cards, pretty much. So that's a potential cut. Vinelasher certainly stays in. Daggerfang Duo. We don't actually have any graveyard recursion outside of our 1 Heaped Harvest. So the self-mill isn't that exciting for me, but it does still help us hit forage, and we have a couple good ways to forage. We have treetop sentries and bushy bodyguards, so a literal couple, just two. Just two ways to forage with some food synergies between Baker's Bane, Cash Grab, Saver, stuff like that. I don't think I need the duo self-mill to help with the foraging, but the death-touching body is also good, and that's one of the reasons I might keep the Harbinger in here. This is just, 3 mana death-touching body, but this one particularly good at blocking because it's also flying. Yeah, Harbinger, even without bats to synergize with it, if we don't care about the mill, it's probably just a better body than Daggerfang Duo, because it just like blocks and eats 2/2s all day, or 2/4s or 2/3s. And it blocks flyers too. I mean, it might be on the chopping block as well, but I think we'd cut Daggerfang before that. Not excited about Druid of the Spade when the only way to use it is with food tokens in this deck. The coolest thing you can do with this is instant speed producing some tokens, so it is cute with our Cash Grab and our Saver to get a food token out of nowhere and try to combat trick with it, but I just think it's more often than not a 3 mana 2/3 here, which is not very good. I like all these 4-drops. This gives us like a 6-drop finisher. This gives us more foraging. This gives us another finisher, just buffing the whole board a bunch. Not the whole board, but one main creature. The bodyguard's just a great rate, and it's a flexible spot on the curve as well. If we need to just play a 2-drop, we can. So, yeah, I think these are the potential cuts, and we need to cut 5 cards. Rampager I actually kind of liked keeping here, so I guess I could just cut the 5 cards I put at the very right of the deck, and that would look fine to me. I could see an argument. Harbinger, again, very close to the cut pile on the right here, and that is to imply, like, how confident I am on what should get cut first. It's like I'm pretty sure these before Harbinger, but not super duper confident on that. Where, like, I think any of these is probably replaceable with Harbinger in power level, depending on how we want to build this deck, but these are all 6 of these are, like, kind of the last playable for the deck. I have been burned by 3-tree mascots a lot in the past here, so I'm hoping Heaped Harvest, Root Weaver are going a long way for us, and we're going to run the Harbinger here and cut these 5. Yeah, we will call it a deck here. I do want to mention, though, before we move into the gameplay, I did just cut the Oak Hollow Village off screen. That's because the Oak Hollow Village, if you're not a really consistent mana-based 2-color deck, I'm not a big fan of the non-basics in this format because the downside is real. So the downside of the non-basics in the format, of course, is that they can only spend mana on creature spells, and we have some very relevant green non-creature spells. So if we're caught with an opening hand of the Oak Hollow Village as our forest for hand, and we have our Hunter's Talent, our Cash Grab, or our Heaped Harvest, that is going to be a massive downside. That certainly hinders us enough that the upside when we're flooding is not quite enough, because you're basically only using Oak Hollow Village when you're flooding or you're top decking small creatures late in the game, because it does cost an additional 2 mana the turn that you want to use it. You have to be able to, like, cast your 4 mana creature and then also tap another forest and tap the Oak Hollow Village to activate it. So happens a little less frequently than you would think. And I think it's worth the cut for the mana considerations when we are splashing around a bit here, and we have relevant green non-creature spells. So we will cut that out of the mana base. And I do think I'm going to just 1 island off Root Weaver Harvest. That might be a little bold, but I think I'm doing it. To put another swamp in here, ideally. Black and green look somewhat similar. Yeah, 11, 12, they're very close. So I'm going to even them out to a 7-7 split, and that's going to help hit our very important double black spell, where we don't have any double green spells. So I like the 50-50 split, because green's going to hit some mana fixing for us, but black has a card that needs 2 black mana. So those kind of balance each other out. And yeah, that is the sealed deck we're going to go with. Without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay and see how it does. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. I like the hand. We definitely need to hit 1 land, but then it pops off. Yep, the Heaped Harvest gets us to Rampager, which activates the Hunter's talent. We have the Fell no matter what off the Haven on black. And we're super cool with naming black on Haven because we have the Heaped Harvest to grab the blue source. Gonna keep this. It's gonna go great if we hit a single land in our first few draw steps. If not, we could have some issues, and there you go. 3-tree Root Weaver. Not exactly a land, but a close enough approximation to get us to Heaped Harvest, which if they don't kill Root Weaver this turn, is going to get us 2 lands throughout the game, like no matter what. So that is excellent. So there's Baker's Bane Duo from our opponent. I don't feel the need to remove that with anything. Do I want to play a 4-drop or drop the Heaped Harvest? I think I drop the Heaped Harvest because I don't really want to play Sentries till I can forage. And if I can hold off on Rampager till the Outlast, that'll be fine. Not the Outlast, the Offspring. Getting all my mechanics mixed up. So there's our blue source. And if I top deck a land, I just 6-drop Rampager. If I don't, I forage away the Harvest to get that land. No blocks there because they're threatening to... I guess they have to expend 4. Maybe a block would be fine there. But yeah, trading Root Weaver into a combat trick just wouldn't be worth it. So we did hit the land, so we'll just Offspring the big doofus here. Repel Calamity on the Rampager, fair. If they play another 2-drop, this is going to be pretty big damage this turn. Brawl, it's a 1-drop. Alright, not the end of the world. We're down to 13. The biggest issue here is needing a bigger creature to do something good with Hunter's Talent. Ooh, that Sticky Tongue Sentinel. Hunter's Talent could be big, but I've got to find a creature for it. So, probably have to Treetop Sentries here for a 4 toughness blocker if they don't expend 4. Then I get to block. I guess if they do, I'm in a bad spot because this is going to be a 4/4 Vigilance because of the Bramble Guard. Maybe I have to Fell here. Just Fell and manually eat the Harvest, and then I'll have to forage 3 cards from grave when I play Sentries later. I think I'm under enough pressure here that I have to do that, and with Talent plus Sentinel combo, I should be able to grind out the long game well. So let's make sure we last, and let's Fell the Veteran, because it's just so bad for us if they expend 4 next turn with that and the other Raccoon on board. That's 2 4-power Vigilant attackers. 2 4 body just isn't even relevant at that point. Yeah, so here's Hivespine Wolverine, which is gross. Blow up an artifact or enchantments. Or fight a token, so fight the token, sure. Go ahead and crack my Harvest. I've got double black, I've got double green. All these green spells in hand, though. I think I'll grab a 3rd green source. Okay, Baker's Bane Duo. So we're on Treetop Sentries. Draw a card. Hunter's Talent, the Duo. But that 4-power Wolverine's an issue. Or 4 toughness Wolverine, more particularly. I would like to point out to anybody listening, if you just listen, the forage audio is still looping for me on my Arena client. I've gotten a couple comments of people saying that the forage bug has been fixed for weeks. That's false. If I stay silent, just listen. Alright, so let's shoot the Duo and pass. Just gotta find something to deal with Wolverine, then we try to take over with Hunter's Talent here. And I am gonna turn the sound effects off. We take 5. Another long stock brawl. Oh no. This 4 toughness creature. It's just so hard for us to kill. I guess I can double block with Duo Sentry. They run out of stuff here. Kind of need that to be the case. Alright, here's a bunch of creatures. No more removal or combat tricks, please. Just let me double block. That looks like removal or a combat trick to me. But if it isn't one, they get to kill a 3/3. And that's it. I don't have much of a choice at this point at 8 life. Oh boy, it's the trample trick too? It's a lot of damage. Certainly glad I blocked instead of taking 8 and dying. Oh, that's... Oh, wait, no, that actually works. I was going to say that's such a bummer when I can't kill anything with Hunter's Talent, but it's like, wait, I actually have exactly enough mana that I can if they don't removal spell in response here. Cool, nothing in response. Get the expend trigger. Pick up the Hunter's Talent. I'm going to try this again pre-combat so that if it resolves, I attack. Well, I guess if it doesn't resolve, it's because they blew up the duo anyway. So I wouldn't attack either way. If it does or doesn't resolve. Let's see, please don't. Oh my god, thank goodness. I guess one upside to attacking after is that it plays around Sonar Strike as removal from our opponent. They can't Sonar Strike the duo, but even then I can Hunter's Talent with the Sticky Tongue from there. Okay. Set up the card draw engine, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got the mana to eat the food after doing that. I imagine they're just going to trade with Head of the Homestead here, though. Yeah, shoot. This isn't ideal. I can level up all the way attack with Sentinel as a 4/3 Trampler, then they probably just block with Head of the Homestead, in which case I don't draw the card this turn anyway. It's probably better to just hold up blocks, because then we trade our 2/2 into the 3/2. But this does mean there's no way we draw a card here, but there's already no way we draw a card if our opponent just plays right. That's just an easy trade Head of the Homestead into the Sentinel. Oh no, Giant Trampler has arrived. Got more than enough cards engraved to forge, so I'm going to eat this food while I have the mana. That is not a good draw. Our opponent still has not drawn land 6, by the way. It is all gas over there still, which is a terrifying concept. If they had a combat trick, I feel like all attack would probably just kill me here, so we double block. I'm very surprised to not see the all attack. But it doesn't matter. We are the Kings of Flood, and we start 0-1 heading into game 2. Here we are for game number 2. We are 0-1 right now, a disappointing start, but I think we played it out about as well as we could have. Just did not find the cards we needed. This is a keep because the 2 castable spells are very good, and green sources are the most common left in the deck, so not that unlikely to find one here. Kill that before they can prowess to save it while they're tapped out. Ravine Raider, Land Pass, Uncharted Haven. think we Vine Lasher Offspring. That way next turn I play the Uncharted Haven and the Warlock, and then I will have pinged them by playing the land, so the Warlock gets to Thoughtseize our opponent and grab their best play. This also threatens a double block on Ravine Raider, but there's no world in which I'd ever do that, and they know that, so. Alright, 1 damage it is, sure. Obviously green here. Sorry, Dream Dew and Trancer. So here's Thoughtstalker Warlock. Pre-combat, so I get to see exactly what's in their hand before I decide if I'm sending in my little guys or if they're under any risk. Okay, goodbye 2/2 Menace. It's an excellent 2-for-1. Oh yeah, get rid of their removal and their 5/5 Mythic Dragon. Now they have 1 more Feed the Cycle in hand. Looks like an excellent position. Really cute thing about the Sticky Tongue Sentinel in this deck is we can pick up the Uncharted Haven to get a blue source later. Doubt that's the play right now. Yeah, we just race pretty well right now. With double pings. I think I just duo up the 1/1, get them to shoot that with removal or take a big swing. Alright, got them to spend premium removal on our 1/1 token buddy. But their sealed pool is gassed with removal. Actually, gassed in general. Rare, mythic, and then 3 excellent uncommon removal spells. But they're out of cards here. Okay, this is going to be definitely a Sticky Tongue to blue turn. Then I get to play Forest, next turn, untapped, and play the Entrancer. Alright, top deck, more removal. This is the most removal-y of removal pools. I guess we had 10 removal spells in our pool. We just chose not to go that crazy. But our removal was a lot more expensive, the stuff we cut. Theirs has been all 2 mana, potentially. The Feed the Cycles are 3 mana most of the time, but... Okay. 10 life here. Actually, I should have attacked for 1 and then just drawn the cards here. I was going to say, I'm pretty confident I can outrace this Ravine Raider, so I'm going to stun my own thing. Yeah, and they're just going to concede there. I did miss 1 point of damage on the attack. I think that's the only play we really did wrong there for the most part. Nice, solid game with some real good draws that time. Make up for the poorer draws in the end game of game 1, and we even it out at 1-1. Alright, got all the colors we need with green and black here, and I can convert to blue in the late game. If I draw some forests, we will keep. Tap land out of the way turn 1 in case we hit a 2-drop. And obviously Vine Lasher, probably into the Harbinger. So I have more choices for Sticky Tongue Sentinel by the time I play it. But Vine Lasher certainly starts us off. Green-white deck with Phineas turn 2. They play any rabbits or tokens, they're going to get counters on them, even if they're summoning sick. Sort of feels like I have to just fell that immediately. Because if they have like a hop to it to make 3 rabbit tokens, that's like just a game-ending play. Attacking with that next turn. Yeah, I think I have to fell. It's just not ideal. as our only removal spell in hand. Hop to it is the 3 mana, make 3 1/1s. And that'd be 3 2/2s with that Phineas on board. Okay, they do not have that. Still Vine Lash in here. Miss out on 2 points of damage to just play a 4-drop instead, like a Rampager. It's probably fine. Then another land lets me play Vine Lasher, then the land, then the Bodyguard for 2. Something like that. Vanishing Light, sure. Thought Stalker Warlock has arrived. How badly do I want to choose? Pretty badly. None of my creatures are really that good right now. Do a 2/1 and a 1/1 here. Gonna likely choose next turn. If I play the Vine Lasher and I don't top deck a land, then the Bodyguard's just as likely to get damage in as the Vine Lasher is. Unless specifically I draw a land. I guess Harbinger's the most likely to hit them. Sure. If we're in a really bad case scenario here and they kill the Harbinger, I could play an unkicked or a non-offspringed Vine Lasher and then play a land and a Warlock. Okay, we didn't hit the land anyway. Let's get our 1-point ping, hopefully. No Sonar Strike, no Sonar Strike, no Sonar Strike. How could this happen to me? Well, that's obviously annoying. I've got the 2/3 blocker. They don't even have to forge with it yet. They've only got 2 cards in their hand. Yeah, I guess at this point, only 2 cards in hand. They gotta both be decent at least. Sure. Alright, yeah. Killed the 5-drop. We'll take it. I could Sticky Tongue back the Warlock. Just realized. I don't know why I didn't realize that sooner. I guess I gave them the forage fuel they needed for Cultivator. But obviously still worth making them discard a card there. Alright. At 6 mana, I could play Sentinel, pick up Warlock, replay Warlock. That is a thing that's interesting. One of our biggest weaknesses in this deck that I'm realizing is that our creatures are generally kind of small. So like this 4/5 body is just a very big deal, even the 3/4. I think they just have enough power on board. We gotta play it out pretty big here. That card is filthy good with the right combo. Every time they target it, pull another creature out of their deck. Just kill 2 of these. Yeah, they kill 2 of these. Gives me the card I need engraved to forge with Treetop Sentries. Gets their board down to the 1 Trampler and a 3/4. Probably just gonna kill the full Vine Lasher. Yeah. Cool. To miss the land from warlocking here, it's a little rough. So we sentries. Think, yeah, we got a drawn to removal or something. Ideally. This Forerunner is going to be a very big problem. Why is the Forge audio fixed half the time? I guess we're both half right. YouTube comments are half right, and we're half right. Kept looping last game even after I forged, but this time it's just good. Well, that's disgusting. Top deck into the Valiant trigger for Forerunner. At least they had to put it back in hand. Oh, they missed? No creatures in the top 6? Just had to replay their 4-drop now? That's kind of nice. There we go. That's perfect. Genuinely fantastic draw. We get to play this in a Baker's Bane duo for the turn. Yep. So, Forerunner's back. Can kill my 2/1 here. I guess if they top deck to overprotect, we're dead. Because they can overprotect the Sentinel to sack that instead. Okay, pretty happy they didn't. Cash grab, get another food, get a land here. Just immediately put the pressure, put the beat down on with Tree Guard duo. Really like getting the land because it leads into Sentinel Warlock. A future turn. It's the green source. I get to play duo this turn still. Yeah. That's the green source. Oh, Hunter's Talent. Without enough power to kill Forerunner until I play it and pick it up with Sentinel. And Vren? I do have the Vren mana? This looks so wrong, but I kind of think I'm still picking up a Forest. What kind of reverse world am I living in? That can't be right. Man, that hurts. No world in which they block. I mean, I guess they could. But then they lose their only creature on board and their bomb rare. All in one fell swoop. So yeah, they're just down to 3. I think we had to just do that. And just focus up on the 2-turn kill here. That's dead on board. And we know exactly what they have. They are just dead. Yeah. Alright, goodbye Hunter's Talent, goodbye Vren. You're unnecessary. We find the victory in game number 3 at 2-1 now. Here we are for game 4. Cash grab digs for any of our permanents that can produce blue mana, which everything in our deck that can produce blue mana is a permanent, so I think because of this cash grab, this is a snap keep. Otherwise there'd be some debate if this was like a green 3-drop or something. But still probably a keep. Baker's Bane duo. Thoughtstalker Warlock. Well, that makes the play super easy. It's probably going to attack regardless. Threatening the trick here. But this would be a pretty easy block if your opponent throws their combat trick at your 2-drop. It's not going to randomly blow up your good creature later. Let's see what they've got in their green-white deck. Oh, the board wipe, I see. One removal spell where I get a fish back out of the deal, and one 3-mana 4/3 trample. I don't like the 3-mana 4/3 trample, but I am pretty sure it's considerably less dangerous than the board wipe for us. Like, I guess if we know about the board wipe the whole time, we've made it less powerful, but this is like a board wipe plus they reanimate their best creature, which is excruciatingly difficult to keep a board state that isn't weak to that. I guess this would be 2/2 menace versus just 2/2. Yeah, that's not a good trade. I was going to say, we know they can't buff that right now. But I was like, oh, right, our creature just has better abilities, so obviously they attack it in there. Alright, cash grab, find something to produce blue mana. Ideally. But if not, maybe a Hunter's Talent would be great. Alright, we found blue mana. Vren honestly doesn't look that insane on this board. Maybe I just play a 4/3? I don't think so. I guess they can Parting Gust Vren, give us a fish. So, double block, Druid. They Parting Gust in response to blow us out, but then they don't have the Gust for Vren. We've gotta draw some more non-lands here, but if we can, we've got some action this game, potentially. Alright, turn these two into a fish, and we hope to find just anything to follow through with Bren. Alright, do not turn them into a fish. Trade the 1/3 into the 4/3. Hunter's Talent. Is this a non-token creature? And they don't have double white up, so they can't respond to Hunter's Talent with that. They can blow the Hunter's Talent up with Nettle Guard. That's a little sad, but I still get to kill the duo with it. And then it's like a 2-for-1. Then I killed the duo and the Nettle Guard here. Feels like a play. Like, we know they have the Parting Gust, so I don't play Vren. They have the ward for it. We do the Hunter's Talent. They don't have double white up right now, so we know Hunter's Talent resolves. Even if it could be blown up by Nettle Guard. The initial ability still happens. Boop, that. And obviously if I targeted Nettle Guard, they would just respond by blowing up Hunter's Talent, and then it's not a 2-for-1, so it's not a good deal. We're going for that 2-for-1 value where I kill their Baker's Bane duo and get them to lose the Nettle Guard as well, because they want to stop the extra value over time. Eventually they'll pop that Nettle Guard on Talent. And if they don't, we just got a bunch of extra damage off it still, which is decent value. Cool. Poke us for 4. That is not so good. Can level it up to level 4, but level 4 doesn't even do anything right now. They play any rabbits, and this is a 4/3 again, and then Warlock doesn't even block anyway. If I play Vren, they spend their turn turning Vren into a fish. They still have the Nettle Guard mana up. I see 0 good plays here. What is the least bad? Guess it's just Talent. They play 1 rabbit and I'm taking 7. Okay, cool. That was our best case scenario here. Just get the Nettle Guard out of here now. Still saving the Vren for a turn where we might kill something and play Vren in 1 turn. Say we top deck a Fel, something like that. When they don't have double white up. Oh boy. Yeah, now I have to just try to trade into the Boxer. Hope they don't find enough spells to expend for. Cool. Baker's Bane Duo. Still have the Gust up. Man. So Harbinger gets gusted here. And we take 5. Expend 4 is mana spent to cast spells, so paying for ward doesn't count towards expend. So if I cast Vren, they have to pass, untap, then spend 4 into getting rid of Vren, and then they can't attack with Baker's Bane Duo, but I just take the 3. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of feeling like Vren has to just be a meat shield for us at 9 life. Because otherwise it's Gust the Harbinger, we get a fish, take 5, we're at 4. Then I can play a Vren. I can play a Vren at 4 life against 5 power to stuff with 1 fish and a Vren. I have to just meat shield Vren here. So now they can't Parting Gust right now, they have to wait till their turn, then Parting Gust Vren. Which taps them out of mana for the turn, gets them to only attack with Host. It gives us time to find something non-land. Yep. Meat Shield Vren has arrived. Ooh, no attacks. I'm very happy with no attacks. I am very unhappy with that draw, though. Just kind of pretend I have something other than a land in hand. I don't have any food tokens on board to bluff. Yikes. That is fantastic. It's a huge amount of damage here. Now I have to just trade Harbinger into Baker's Bane Duo, because I can't just, like, take 6. I guess I can put the fish in its way, but the rabbit too, so they're both going to be at least 4 power coming in at 9. Oh, man. Just have to be the absolute top deck champion of the world at this point. Yeah, I mean, Duo is the only creature they have on board that Harbinger can block without dying anyway. It's not going to block this without dying. It's not going to block this without dying. And just get out of the way. Get something off the board this turn. Yikes. Well, probably GG. I just put a stop in main phase 2 and then it didn't even let me bluff it. Oh, I guess that was a combat stop. This is where the main phase 2 stop is. Oh, it's probably relevant. Oh, funny. It's definitely relevant. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's 2 and 2. Again, I think I played it out about as best as we could there. We got put in some rough positions, like having to just throw out the Vran at the meat shield, but I'm pretty confident it was the right thing to do. We just really flooded in the end game yet again, and that is 2 and 2, heading into game 5. Here we are now for game number 5. Bunch of great early plays in this hand. Almost definitely starting with Root Weaver, so we can dump multiple spells out in one turn later. Maybe even just play an early Rampager's fine. So they probably have a Saver. They might have a Saver. Because they held on turn 2. They could be playing in full control. But they had 1 and a black up. Well, I guess they had 1 mana of any color, but most likely would be a Saver there. I don't want to fell an Herbalist, so I'm not going to go like Assassin Fell for 2 plays. I could just Bodyguard with the token. Try to get as wide of a board state as possible before I get a Tree Guard to a ETB. At 5 mana next turn, I need 6 for the Rampager Offspring. That doesn't seem the greatest. I feel like Rampager's just a good threat immediately. There's going to be a 2/4 Herbalist attacking so they can Saver and eat the Rampager. If they have the Saver in hand like they could have turn 2. And this attack makes me even more suspicious that they have a Saver. Because now we know they have some kind of combat trick, and Saver can absolutely be used as a combat trick in the -2/-2 sense. So we're probably playing around Saver here, which means not dumping out Bodyguard, certainly not dumping out the Bone Cache Overseer, but Tree Guard Duo is a perfectly solid play, as would be Assassin. But I think we're saving Assassin for a turn where I actually want to fell something, so let's Tree Guard Duo. Slam with the team. Spread out the damage here. This way, if they have a bigger removal spell, like 3 mana destroy target creature, they don't just get to kill a 7/7 Rampager and stop all that damage and kill our biggest creature on future swings. I can drop Overseer and trade it into a Saver. Honestly, not the end of the world, because this hand is not that good at foraging, but I'm not going to do that. Because, I mean, the Overseer is very relevant right now. Anyway. Curious Forager. No Forage, just a 3/2 blocker. So they're going to try to Saver on blocks now. So Rampager can't be blocked by creatures with less than 2 power, so they'd have to trade Saver and Forager into the Rampager anyway. Which is really not bad for us. The Tree Guard Duo, they could Saver that, and it would be a 1/2 that they get to kill without losing a creature. So that attack's less good, but Rampager still attacks great into the Saver here. It's going to clear out the removal spell and one of their creatures. So I think we just do that. Because I still don't want to fell anybody. Yeah, this is a pretty bad deal for our opponent. And I feel pretty happy playing around the Saver. Now we get to Bodyguard, no Forage, and play Overseer. Only flaw with that is that's the only Forage card in my hand that could get Overseer to draw cards here. But, I mean, we're so far away from foraging, so let's just get the wide board state. ready for damage. Starscape Cleric. That cannot block at all. So that's great. They have a single 1/4 blocker. I could just fell that at this point. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's actually kind of worth it. And I'm still holding up Consumed by Greed if they follow it up with a bomb. I think I hold up Consumed by Greed over playing Assassin here, because even with the gain 3, we hit for 8. Well, that's going to be bigger than their bats, so that's big enough to die to Consumed by Greed. So if that is their only ground blocker here, they are going to be dead on board. Send in for 3. Sack the food. It's going to be a double ping. Okay, I don't think I want the raccoon back in my hand badly enough to give them another chance to top deck removal. I'm just going to not give them the card. Combat Trick could have them sacrifice one of the bats instead of the cultivators that are not quite dead, but it's certainly not a good position for our opponent. They pretty much have to block the 3/4, right? Because if they block here, they take 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess they don't have to block the 3/4. They could go to 1 and kill the bodyguard, but if they go to 1, then our assassin is a guaranteed kill next turn, even if they have the widest board in the world. Alright, basically the only way they could win is if they have the mythic rare Black Season that makes each player sack 5, and Fountain Port is not that. They're going to go out with style, pay the 1 life to get the 1/1 fish, worth 3 and 2, heading into Game 6. Alright, here we are on the play for Game 6. Use this on blue. I won't be able to double spell with any of my main colors, but I know if I top deck any of my bombs, they're castable, so I'm doing it. Swordmaster, that is aggressive from our opponent. I don't know if I appreciate that. As me live in fear. Not even an offspring, they just want to get the 1-drop out immediately and just start jamming. Okay, I don't appreciate it. Innkeeper's Talent's one of the best rares in the set, and it combos incredibly with Valiant cards to trigger them every turn. Lord, do I not want to fell a Swordmaster, but it gives me an excuse to get my tap land out of the way, instead of just trading a Harbinger into it. Man, yeah, this is not the best. I think I'm going to get the second black in case I hit the consumed thing. Consumed by Greed. Because all the green spells in our hand are 4 mana anyway, so we're very far away from casting 2 of them in 1 turn. Okay. Yeah. That works. 3 mana Swordmaster, actually a good deal when you have an Innkeeper's Talent on board. I generally am not sure how we beat this card. Just can't forage. Just cash grab. Dig for some solutions. If they don't have enough creatures, then Harbinger trading off is fine. I don't know, so this thing, it's got 1 counter. It's going to get a 2nd counter and trigger. It's going to be a 4/3. That's going to be a 4/4 on its next attack. Yeah, I mean, it's bigger than everything we have. I'd have to Harbinger trade already. Yeah, Duo doesn't even get more damage in because Assassins still bounce off Swordmaster. Oh wait, no, it's +2/+2, right? It is +2/+2. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna be mana efficient. If I top deck a land, it lets me Harbinger and Cash Grab in the same turn now. Just when in doubt, when nothing looks good, let's be as mana efficient as possible, get as much tempo as possible, get some chips in here and try to outrace this, which feels impossible. But we have to try. We're in an arena open here. I can't just concede. I've already lost 2 games. This is really weird. I mean, they're thinking a lot here. So I was going to say the only thing that could potentially lead us to a victory is if they have a really, really creature light hand. And the way they're playing makes it kind of seem that way. Oh, Jesus. Even with a creature light hand, with Hunter's Talent and Innkeeper's Talent. That is such the setup here. That is a massive yikes for me. 2 cards in grave, still not drawing a card off sentries yet. I don't get a food from Cash Grab unless I have a squirrel on board, so that doesn't set up the forge. I mean, it sets up the graveyard forge, I guess. But I haven't had enough mana to play Cash Grab and impact the board at all. So it just feels wrong. And even if I Cash Grab into like Hunter's Talent, the Swordmaster is going to be a friggin' 5 toughness creature minimum. Oh my lord. Yep, they don't even have to attack here. That's how they get to know they're going to be nice and safe. Just sit behind 2 absolutely astronomically sized creatures and draw a second card every turn and get 2+1/+1 counters every turn, and not in a million years would this game be winnable. Yep. If they have the land to level at to level 4, it is super, super over, because now they're drawing 2 cards a turn. Oh god. That's not the land, but that's going to be a tap of a creature every turn, so it shuts off the Death Touch blocker to make sure that we get hit in the face for a lot. Yep. They still have massive blocks. Hunter's Talent is more consistent Valiant triggers, so they can trigger Swordmaster and Mousetrapper each turn. What does the dream do, friend? It is Ward 1 to target their creatures with counters, so that is certainly something. Looks like our best bet. There's Nocturnal Hunger. Okay, so we stun one of these for a long time. We Nocturnal Hunger another one of them. Probably just doing our absolute darndest to race our opponent here, right? So we have to stun the Swordmaster. So I can send the 4/4 in. Worst case scenario, trade into Mousetrapper. The trade is fine. I kind of feel this is necessary. Can Trump attack with Assassin to hit for 2 more damage? I drain them for 1 and that buffs the Harbinger. I don't hate that. It feels unlikely to completely clear a path to where Assassin isn't just going to be a chump attack later anyway. Regain or lose life? Yeah. Then I get to gain life this turn and lose life next turn. Could be a thing. Puts them to 7. Like, that's pressure. That is life total pressure. Please don't have a bat on board. Okay, at least they don't have a bat on board. So they're still at 7. But there goes my 1 flyer. If they attack with one of these, it's pretty great. Even through a Banishing Light. Please attack with one of these. Thank you. Oh, it's 4 mana to Nocturnal Hunger. It's also 3 mana to Savor, so if I Savor, I do get to eat the food, and Savor is big enough that the Rampager survives, but I don't deal any damage to them if I Savor. I just clear out the Mousetrapper, and they stay at 7. If I Nocturnal Hunger, I'm at 8 against a 6 power Provisioner. It's 4, 5, 6. They can make it 7 by leveling up the talents. I'm dead to like any trick. But also they're dead in one more swing if I top deck another removal spell if we get super lucky. Kind of feels like our only route to victory is getting super lucky at this point. Because if I just send into the Mousetrapper and Savor here, they're still at 7. Then they can just hit us for 5, hit us for 5. They still get the 2-turn kill. Oh, man. Actually gift them the food, maybe? Actually gonna gift them the food? Because they currently don't have the mana to eat the food and level up the talent. I don't know, that might have cost me the game. But I was waiting for the rope here. If they top decked a land, that was bad. But if they didn't... Oh... Okay, well, we just lost, period. Every time. They have the Sticky Tongue Sentinel Hunter's talent. Man. Arena, have mercy on me, please. Yeah, I mean, this game couldn't have gone any better for us. With that collection of cards and draws from our opponent, that was as close as we could get. We got them to 3 against that stuff. But it's all over here. There is no way to survive another turn. With talents. Yeah, with both talents on board here. Can only block one of their creatures. I guess I can barely be at like 1, maybe. But involves chump blocking with whatever I play. So I have no way of ever getting damage in. Guess if I just have to chump block, it's best to chump block with the sentries here. Excuse me. Probably not relevant because everything on their board has ward, but I guess I shouldn't have let Auto Tapper do that, so if I did top deck a land, I could Savor. But I can't Savor anything with a +1/+1 counter on it, so I can't Savor anything on the board right now. Oh hey, there's the Forage audio glitch again. It's back. For some reason. Oh, I think that might be lethal. Yeah, trample the Sentinel, +1/+1 counter on Provisioner. And then that attack both. Well, no, that's still 1 life. Still barely alive. Yeah. I think that was everything I could have done here. Brutal. I mean, that was all of our losses today. We did everything we could. There was one line in that game that was kind of loose in terms of like what could have happened from our opponent, but it completely didn't change anything at all because they didn't even end up sacking the food. I think in the end we shouldn't have gifted them that food because it would have been bad if they like top deck a land and their best play is level this up. Because then they just level it up and eat the food, and that's pretty horrible for me, so I probably should have just taken the damage there. But I guess we would have died a turn sooner, so grand scheme of things, it's kind of the same either way. Everything else, though, I feel like we fought about as well as we could have there. Getting them to 3 was, like, excruciatingly close, but that was just our losses today. First two losses, just a bit of flood in the end game, and this final loss, just unbeatable stuff from our opponent. I think we played well in pretty much all the games, and that is the disappointing part, because the majority of the time, I feel like when we 7-2 the Arena Open Day 1 events, it's through a bunch of misplays and punts, so it definitely is a little frustrating when you get a sealed pool that I think we built a pretty great deck with, and played very, very little punts compared to what we usually do today, but still just get crushed in the end. Yeah. If sealed was 100% skill-based, I think we would get a lot more 3-3s in those other arena opens where we got our 7-2s, and this would be the one that we actually get a 7-2 here, because I think the quantity of punts and bad lines and everything today was pretty low. For the most part, I think our lines were pretty accurate, but that doesn't always stack up into a win. Sometimes your draws are just a little worse, and you can't quite keep up, especially when your opponent has Hunter's talent and Innkeeper's talent both active at the same time. That was a disgusting ending to the sealed run. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description, where I am live on a very rare occasion. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another attempt at the Bloomburrow Arena Open Day number 1.